In the year 2789, humanity was no longer alone in the universe. For centuries, Earth had been part of the Galactic Union, a vast collection of planets and species ruled by the Supreme Council. The Council promised peace, prosperity, and equality for all. But that promise was a lie. Humanity, once hopeful about joining the stars, soon found itself treated as nothing more than servants to the powerful alien races. Life under the Council Earth wasn't what it used to be. Once vibrant cities were now shadows of their former selves, crumbling under the weight of unfair laws imposed by the Council. Factories worked day and night, not for humans, but for the Council's endless wars. Resources like water, minerals, and energy were stripped from Earth and sent to other planets. People lived in poverty while aliens flaunted wealth earned off the backs of human labor. Captain Leora Hayes knew this pain better than most. She had grown up hearing stories of how Earth joined the Galactic Union with dreams of exploring the stars. Her grandparents talked about the early days when humanity felt proud to sit at the same table as advanced alien civilizations. But those dreams turned into nightmares. By the time Leora was born, Earth was little more than a colony, a resource, pit for the Council to exploit. Leora lost her family during one of the Council's resource extraction missions. A mining operation collapsed, killing thousands, including her parents and younger brother. The Council blamed it on poor engineering, but everyone knew the truth. They didn't care about safety or lives. All they cared about was taking what they wanted. Now, Leora led a small group of rebels fighting back against the Council. They called themselves the Phoenix Initiative, named after the mythical bird that rose from ashes. Their goal was simple: make the Council pay for what they'd done, and give humanity a chance to stand on its own again. The Harvest Directive. One day, news spread across Earth like wildfire. The Council announced something called the Harvest Directive. Officially, it was described as a plan to gather resources for a galactic war effort. Unofficially, it meant even tighter control over Earth. Entire regions would be stripped bare, forests cut down, oceans drained, and people forced into labor camps to meet quotas. Protests erupted worldwide. Crowds filled the streets, holding signs that read, "We are not slaves," and "Stop exploiting Earth." But the Council ignored them. Instead, they sent envoys to deliver a chilling message: humanity is expendable. Your survival depends on your obedience. For many, this was the final straw. Even those who had hoped for peace realized there was no reasoning with the Council. It was clear. They saw humans as tools, not equals. A secret meeting late one night, Leora met with a few trusted members of the Phoenix Initiative in an abandoned warehouse outside New Chicago. Among them was Dr. Elias Kane, a brilliant scientist, who had spent years researching new forms of energy. Thin, with glasses perpetually sliding down his nose, Kane didn't look like someone who could change the galaxy, but his mind held secrets that might turn the tide. "We can't keep running," Leora said, pacing back and forth. "Every attack we launch buys us time, but it's not enough. We need proof, the kind of evidence that will wake people up." Kane nodded. "I've been working on something. If we play our cards right, it could shift the balance of power." Before he could explain further, the door burst open. In walked Admiral Tarek Voss, a grizzled veteran of Earth's last great war. His face was lined with age, and his uniform bore patches where medals should have been. He carried himself with authority, but his eyes betrayed deep sorrow. "I intercepted communications from the Council," Voss said, tossing a data chip onto the table. "This changes everything." Leora picked up the chip and inserted it into a nearby console. What she saw made her blood boil. Documents, recordings, and plans revealed the horrifying truth. The Council hadn't just stumbled into exploiting Earth. They had planned it from the start. The Harvest Directive wasn't just about resources. It was about wiping out humanity piece by piece until nothing remained. "They lied to us," Leora whispered, her voice shaking with anger. "They never intended to treat us as equals. From the beginning, they saw us as expendable." A spark of hope, the revelation ignited a fire within the group. For so long they had fought without knowing the full extent of the Council's betrayal. Now, armed with proof, they felt a renewed sense of purpose. "What do we do with this?" asked Mira Chen, a young fighter who had joined the rebellion after losing her home to a council raid. "How does this help us?" "We share it," Leora replied firmly. "Not just with our people, but with anyone willing to listen. If the galaxy sees what the council has done, maybe others will join us." Voss hesitated. "And if they don't? If we expose this and still end up alone?" "Then we fight anyway," Leora said, her green eyes blazing with determination. "We're done begging for scraps. It's time to take back what's ours." Building the resistance over the next few weeks, the Phoenix Initiative went underground. Using encrypted channels, they spread the Council's secrets far and wide. Videos of the documents played on every available screen, from broken holo projectors in refugee camps to hacked Council broadcasts. The message was clear. The Council betrayed us. They think we're weak. They're wrong. At first, reactions were mixed. Some dismissed the claims as propaganda, others were too afraid to act. But slowly, support began to grow. Survivors from different parts of Earth came together, united by a shared desire for justice. Farmers handed over food supplies. Engineers built weapons from scrap metal. Even children helped by keeping watch for Council patrols. Dr. Kane worked tirelessly on his project, which he called Ecliptica. It was a revolutionary energy source capable of powering entire fleets, or destroying them. "With this," he explained, "we can level the playing field, but we must use it wisely." Leora trusted him, but couldn't shake the feeling that such power came with risks. Still, she knew they couldn't afford to hesitate. Every day they delayed, the Council grew stronger. Everything changed when Ambassador Kale Soren arrived. An alien diplomat with ties to both the Council and humanity, Kale claimed he wanted to help. At first, Leora was suspicious. Why would someone from the Council suddenly switch sides? "I've seen what they're planning," Kale admitted during a tense meeting. "If you fail, they'll destroy Earth completely. I don't want that on my conscience." Despite his words, Leora kept him at arm's length. Something about him felt off. And she was right to distrust him. Betrayal strikes. Just as the Resistance prepared to launch their first major attack, disaster struck. Kyle had secretly relayed information to the Council, revealing the location of the Phoenix Initiative's base. Council forces descended in waves, catching the rebels off guard. Chaos erupted as lasers lit up the night sky. Rebels fought valiantly, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Many fell, their sacrifices buying time for others to escape. Amidst the chaos, Leora confronted Kale. "You sold us out," she spat, pointing a gun at his chest. "I did what I had to do," Kyle replied, his voice cold. "Survival isn't pretty." For a moment, Leora considered pulling the trigger, but then she lowered her weapon. "You're not worth it," she said. "Run while you still can." As the base burned behind them, Leora and the surviving rebels fled into the wilderness. Though battered and bruised, they refused to give up. The Council thought they had crushed the rebellion, but they had only fueled its flames. A vow for revenge later that night, sitting around a campfire, Leora addressed what remained of her team. "They think they've won," she said, her voice steady despite the pain in her heart. "But they've made a mistake. They've underestimated us." She held up the data chip containing the Council's secrets. "This is our weapon now. We'll show the galaxy what they've done, and we'll make them regret ever crossing us." Her words ignited a spark of hope in the weary faces around her. For the first time in years, they believed victory was possible. Not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. As the fire crackled in the darkness, Leora stared into the flames, her mind set on one thing: revenge. The Council had taken everything from her, from all of them. Now it was time to take it back. The betrayal of Ambassador Kale Soren left deep scars on the Phoenix Initiative. Their secret base was destroyed, many comrades lost their lives, and trust between allies grew fragile. But instead of breaking them, the attack ignited a fire within the survivors. They were no longer just fighting for survival. They were fighting for justice, for vengeance, and for the future of humanity. The galaxy would soon learn that Earth was not a planet to be trampled upon. Rebuilding from the ashes. After escaping the Council's ambush, Leora Hayes and her team retreated to an old underground bunker hidden beneath the ruins of what was once New Chicago. It wasn't much, cracked walls, flickering lights, and damp air, but it was safe. For now. Leora stood at the center of the dimly lit room, staring at a map holographically projected onto the table. Her green eyes burned with determination as she plotted their next move. Around her, the remaining members of the Phoenix Initiative worked tirelessly to regroup. Some patched up wounded fighters, others scavenged supplies from nearby ruins, and a few monitored communications for any sign of the Council's movements. "We can't stay here forever," Admiral Tarek Voss said, his voice low but firm. He leaned heavily on a cane, his leg injured during the retreat. "If the Council finds us again?" "They won't," Leora interrupted sharply. "Not if we hit them first." Dr. Elias Kane looked up from his workstation, where he was tinkering, with a prototype device powered by Ecliptica energy. His glasses reflected the soft glow of the screens surrounding him. "Hitting them isn't enough," he said. "We need to strike hard, and smart. We're outnumbered and outgunned. If we charge in blindly, we'll lose everything." Mira Chen, one of the youngest rebels, clenched her fists. "So what do we do? Sit here and wait for them to come back?" "No," Leora replied, turning to face the group. "We gather allies, other oppressed species, people who've suffered under the Council's rule. If we unite, we can take them down together." Her words sparked murmurs of agreement among the rebels. They had always fought alone, but maybe this time they didn't have to. The power of Ecliptica. Over the next few days, Dr. Kane focused on perfecting Ecliptica, a revolutionary energy source capable of changing the course of the war. The technology was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. It harnessed quantum fluctuations to generate immense power, enough to fuel entire fleets or devastate planets. But with great potential came great danger. This could save us, or destroy us, Kane warned during a meeting. He held up a small, glowing orb that pulsed faintly in his hand. One wrong move and we could wipe out half the galaxy. Leora studied the orb, her expression unreadable. "Can you weaponize it?" Kane hesitated. "Yes, but using it as a weapon risks losing control. Once unleashed, there's no telling how far the damage will spread." Voss stepped forward, his face grim. "Then let's make sure we use it wisely. This isn't just about revenge. It's about protecting the innocent." Leora nodded. "Agreed. We'll keep it as a last resort. For now, we focus on smaller targets, hit-and-run tactics, make the Council bleed without showing all our cards. Forming alliances to grow their resistance, the Phoenix Initiative needed help." Leora knew they couldn't win alone, so she sent scouts across the galaxy to find other groups suffering under the Council's tyranny. Many alien species had been mistreated, forced into labor, or stripped of their homelands. Now those same species were ready to fight back. One evening, a group of Zenari, a reptilian race known for their resilience, arrived at the bunker. Their leader, a grizzled warrior named Rhynoc, approached Leora with cautious respect. "We've heard your message," Rhynoc said, his voice raspy but commanding. "The Council took our world centuries ago. We've lived as refugees ever since. If you're serious about bringing them down, count us in." Leora extended her hand. "Welcome." To the fight, word spread quickly. Soon, representatives from other oppressed species joined the cause. The insectoid Kraliths, the aquatic Valens, and even rogue factions of the Council's own military. Together, they formed the United Front, a coalition determined to overthrow the corrupt regime. Betrayal. Within, as the rebellion gained momentum, tensions arose within the ranks. Not everyone trusted each other. Old rivalries between species resurfaced, threatening to tear the alliance apart. Some questioned whether humans should lead the charge, given their history of weakness. "It's too risky," argued a Kralith commander during a heated debate. "What if the humans betray us like they did before?" "We're not asking for blind trust," Leora shot back. slamming her fist on the table. "We're asking for action. The Council betrayed every single
one of us. If we don't stand together now, none of us will survive." Her words silenced the room. Slowly, heads began to nod.
Whatever doubts remained were set aside, for now, but the biggest threat came from within. Ambassador Kale Soren reappeared unexpectedly, claiming he wanted redemption. "I made a mistake," he pleaded, kneeling before Leora. "Let me make it right." Leora stared at him, her jaw tight. She wanted nothing more than to throw him out, or worse, but she realized his knowledge of the Council could be valuable. Reluctantly, she allowed him to stay, though she kept a close eye on him. The raid that changed everything. The United Front launched its first major operation, a daring raid on a heavily fortified Council supply depot located on a remote moon. The goal was simple: steal advanced weapons and intel while destroying key resources. The mission began with precision. Stealth ships slipped past enemy patrols, deploying squads of rebels to infiltrate the base. Inside, chaos erupted as explosions rocked the facility. Rebels moved swiftly, grabbing crates of weapons and downloading classified data from the mainframe. But things went sideways when Kale's presence was discovered. A Council officer recognized him and broadcast his betrayal across the network. Reinforcements poured in, trapping the rebels inside. "Fall back," Leora shouted over the comlink. "We've got what we came for." As the team retreated, Kale stayed behind, drawing fire to cover their escape. When Leora demanded an explanation later, he simply shrugged. "Consider it my apology." Though reluctant to admit it, Leora realized his actions had saved lives. Still, she couldn't fully trust him, not yet. A turning point back at the bunker, the stolen weapons and intel, proved invaluable. The rebels armed themselves with advanced Council tech, leveling the playing field. More importantly, the data revealed shocking secrets. Plans for a superweapon called the Oblivion Array, designed to annihilate entire planets. "If they finish building it, we're done," Kane said, analyzing the schematics. "We have to stop them." Leora clenched her fists. "Then we hit them where it hurts, their capital planet." The idea was bold, almost suicidal. Attacking the Council's stronghold would require everything they had. But Leora believed it was their only chance. The galaxy needed to see that. Humanity and their allies were not afraid to fight. Rising fury, in the weeks that followed, the United Front prepared for the assault. Training intensified, bonds strengthened, and resolve hardened. Stories of their victories spread across the galaxy, inspiring others to join the cause. Even species loyal to the Council began questioning their allegiance. Standing atop a hill overlooking the rebel camp, Leora gazed at the stars. She thought about all they had lost, and all they still stood to gain. The Council had underestimated humanity once. They wouldn't make that mistake again. "The galaxy will never be the same," she whispered to herself, a fierce smile spreading across her face. And with that, the storm awakened. The rebellion had grown into something far greater than anyone could have imagined. What began as a small group of desperate humans fighting for survival had transformed into a united force of oppressed species determined to overthrow the Supreme Council. With Earth's stolen secrets and newfound alliances, the United Front was ready to ignite chaos across the galaxy. But as the flames of war spread, so did the challenges and sacrifices. A galaxy in chaos news of humanity's uprising rippled through the stars like wildfire. For decades, the Council had ruled with an iron grip, crushing dissent and exploiting weaker species. Now, for the first time, someone dared to fight back. And not just humans, but entire civilizations that had suffered under the Council's tyranny. On distant planets, oppressed populations rose up in solidarity with the United Front. Factories, once dedicated to producing weapons for the Council, were sabotaged or seized by rebels. Supply lines were disrupted, leaving Council forces stretched thin. Even some alien commanders defected, bringing valuable knowledge and resources to the rebellion. But the Council wasn't about to surrender its empire without a fight. In response to the growing threat, they declared martial law across the galaxy, tightening their control over key systems. Entire worlds were placed under lockdown, and any hint of rebellion was met with brutal retaliation. Planets suspected of aiding the Phoenix Initiative were bombarded from orbit, reduced to ash as examples to others who might dare resist. For Leora Hayes, this escalation was both inspiring and devastating. She watched holovids of burning cities and fleeing refugees, knowing that every act of defiance came at a cost. Yet she also saw hope in the faces of those who joined the fight, people willing to risk everything for freedom. "We've started something we can't stop now," Admiral Tarek Voss said one evening during a strategy meeting. His voice carried the weight of experience but also resignation. "This isn't just a war, it's a revolution, and revolutions always come with bloodshed." Leora nodded grimly. "Then we make sure it's worth it." Allies turn enemies. As the United Front expanded, tensions within the coalition grew. Each species brought its own grievances, goals, and methods to the table, making unity difficult. Trust remained fragile, especially when old rivalries resurfaced. During a raid on a council research facility, a misunderstanding nearly tore the alliance apart. A squad of Zainari warriors clashed with Krylith infiltrators, accusing them of hoarding captured technology for themselves. Tempers flared and shots were fired before Leora intervened. "This is exactly what the council wants," she shouted, stepping between the two groups. Her voice echoed through the ruined lab, silencing everyone. "They want us divided. If we turn on each other, we're no better than them." Reluctantly, the fighters lowered their weapons. Mira Chen, who had been working alongside the Kryliths, stepped forward. "She's right. We're stronger together. Let's focus on taking down the real enemy." Though tempers cooled, the incident left lingering doubts. Could such a diverse coalition truly hold together long enough to defeat the Council? Or would internal conflicts destroy them first? Personal sacrifices amidst the chaos, personal losses weighed heavily on the leaders of the rebellion. Admiral Voss, already injured from previous battles, pushed himself beyond his limits to keep the alliance intact. But age and exhaustion finally caught up with him. During a critical mission to sabotage a council shipyard, Voss volunteered to lead a diversionary strike, knowing it was likely a suicide mission. As he stood before the team preparing for launch, his face was lined with exhaustion, but his eyes burned with resolve. "I've lived long enough," he said quietly, addressing Leora and the others. "It's your turn to shape the future. Don't waste it." Before anyone could argue, he boarded the shuttle and launched into battle. His sacrifice allowed the main fleet to escape unscathed, but it left a void in the hearts of those who survived. When news of his death reached the rebel camps, morale plummeted. "He gave everything for us," Leora whispered later, staring at the stars. "We owe it to him, and to everyone else who's died, to finish this." Confronting Kale Soren, ambassador. Kale Soren continued to walk a fine line between redemption and betrayal. Though he had proven useful in several missions, many still distrusted him, including Leora. Her suspicions deepened when intelligence reports revealed that Kale had secretly contacted the Council again. Confronting him in private, Leora cornered Kale in a dimly lit corridor of the rebel base. "You swore you'd changed," she growled, her hand resting on the hilt of her weapon. "Was that another lie?" Kale sighed, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "I'm trying to help. Leora, but the Council, they won't let me go easily. They threatened my family if I didn't cooperate." "So you fed them information?" Leora snapped, her voice rising. "How many lives are you willing to trade for your guilt?" To her surprise, Kale didn't deny it. Instead, he looked her straight in the eye. "Do what you must. Kill me if it'll make you feel better. But know this. I've seen what happens when good people do nothing. That's why I'm here. Not because I deserve forgiveness, but because I believe in what you're fighting for." For a moment, silence hung between them. Then Leora lowered her weapon. "If you cross us again, I won't hesitate." Kyle nodded, his expression unreadable. Whether he truly sought redemption or played both sides remained unclear, but for now his knowledge kept him alive. The final push, with time running out, the United Front prepared for its most ambitious operation yet. a direct assault on the Council's capital planet. It was a gamble, a suicidal one, but necessary to end the war once and for all. Dr. Elias Kane unveiled a prototype weapon powered by ecliptica energy. Dubbed the Starbreaker, it was designed to disable the Oblivion Array, the Council's superweapon capable of destroying entire planets. However, using it required infiltrating the heart of the enemy stronghold, a fortress surrounded by impenetrable defenses. "We'll need every ship, every soldier, and every ounce of luck," Kane explained during a briefing. "One wrong move, and we're finished." Leora stood at the front of the room, addressing the assembled leaders of the rebellion. "This isn't just about Earth anymore," she said, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "It's about every world the Council has crushed, every life they've taken. Today we show them that humanity, and our allies, are not afraid to fight. Are you with me?" The room erupted in cheers, fists raised in defiance. For the first time, the galaxy felt united, not by fear, but by hope. Into the heart of darkness. The attack on the Council's capital planet was chaotic and brutal. Rebel fleets clashed with Council armadas in orbit, while ground teams fought their way through heavily fortified cities. Explosions lit up the sky as ships collided and debris rained down. Leora led a small strike team tasked with reaching the Oblivion Array. Alongside her were Mira Chen, Dr. Kane, and a handful of trusted fighters. Every step forward was a struggle, as automated turrets and elite guards blocked their path. Inside the control center, the team faced off against the Supreme Chancellor herself, a towering figure clad in golden armor, radiating authority and malice. Behind her loomed the massive machine that housed the Oblivion Array. "You think you can stop us?" the Chancellor sneered, her voice dripping with contempt. "You're insects compared to the greatness of the Council." Leora stepped forward, her weapon aimed squarely at the Chancellor. "Maybe we're insects, but even insects can burn down forests." With those words, she signaled Kane to activate the Starbreaker. Energy surged through the chamber, disabling the array and causing the structure to collapse. The Chancellor screamed in fury as the rebels escaped, narrowly avoiding destruction. A costly victory. When the dust settled, the Council's power was broken. Their fleet scattered, their leaders imprisoned or killed, and their empire in ruins. The galaxy celebrated the fall of the tyrants, but the victory came at a steep price. Standing amidst the wreckage of the capital planet, Leora reflected on the journey that had brought them here. Countless lives had been lost, including friends and mentors. Yet despite the scars, she felt a sense of pride. Humanity, and their allies, had risen from oppression to become a beacon of hope for the galaxy. As the surviving members of the United Front gathered around her, Leora raised her fist in triumph. "The Council thought they could crush us," she declared, her voice echoing across the battlefield. "But they underestimated one thing, the strength of unity. Together, we've changed the galaxy forever." And with that, the inferno of rebellion gave birth to a new dawn. The fall of the Supreme Council marked a turning point in the galaxy's history. For centuries, the Council had ruled with an iron fist, exploiting weaker species and crushing dissent. Now, their empire lay in ruins, brought down by humanity and its allies. But as the dust settled, questions remained. What kind of galaxy would rise from the ashes? Could the United Front, once united only by hatred for the Council, forge a new future together? And what price had been paid for this? Victory, rebuilding after ruin. The first days after the Council's collapse were chaotic. Entire planets that had relied on the Council's infrastructure were left struggling to survive. Communication networks failed, trade routes crumbled, and food shortages spread across star systems. Survivors looked to the United Front for guidance, but even its leaders weren't sure where to begin. Leora Hayes stood aboard the flagship Phoenix Rising, staring out at the damaged capital planet below. The once mighty spires of the Council's palace now resembled jagged teeth rising from the ground, a grim reminder of the power they had toppled. Around her, the bridge buzzed with activity as rebels worked tirelessly to establish order. "We've done the impossible," Mira Chen said, breaking the silence. She leaned against the railing, her face smudged with soot but her eyes bright with determination. Now comes the hard part. Leora nodded. The council may be gone, but the damage they caused won't disappear overnight. We need to rebuild, not just our worlds, but trust between species. Dr. Elias Kane approached, clutching a data pad filled with reports. His glasses sat crookedly on his nose and dark circles framed his eyes. He hadn't slept much since activating the Starbreaker. We have resources, but not enough to fix everything at once. Priorities matter. Food, shelter, medicine. We focus on these first. Admiral Tarek Voss's sacrifice still weighed heavily on everyone's minds. Leora often found herself wondering what he would say if he were here. Would he approve of how she was leading? Was she doing enough to honor his memory and the memories of all those who had died? Let's start small, she decided aloud. One system at a time. If we can show people that things are getting better, hope will spread faster than despair. Galactic Summit to address the growing needs of the galaxy. Leora called for a summit, a gathering of representatives from every species involved in the rebellion. It was held on Earth, symbolizing humanity's role in sparking the revolution. Delegates arrived from distant corners of the galaxy, bringing stories of both devastation and resilience. The meeting took place in a massive dome built over the ruins of old Chicago. Inside, holographic displays showed images of destroyed cities, starving populations, and abandoned colonies. The mood was somber, but beneath the grief lay determination. This is our chance to create something better, Leora said, addressing the crowd. Her voice carried strength despite the weight of responsibility she felt. For too long, we've lived under oppression. Now we get to decide what kind of galaxy we want. Will it be one of fear and division, or unity and progress? Her words resonated deeply, earning murmurs of agreement. But not everyone shared her optimism. A Zenari elder named Renak stepped forward, his scales glinting faintly in the artificial light. Unity sounds noble, he rumbled, his voice low and gravelly. But old wounds run deep. How do we know humans won't betray us again? Leora didn't flinch. She locked eyes with him, unwavering. Because betrayal doesn't define us. Actions do. We've spilled blood alongside yours. We've fought for your freedom as much as ours. Together, we'll prove that trust isn't naive. It's necessary. Rhynak studied her for a moment before nodding slowly. Then let's see if you mean it. Forging a new alliance over the next several weeks. The delegates hammered out the framework for a new galactic government. They called it the United Systems Alliance, USA, designed to ensure equal representation for all species. Unlike the Council, which centralized power among a few elites, the USA distributed authority across multiple councils, each responsible for different aspects of governance. Dr. Kane played a key role in drafting policies related to technology and resource distribution. Ecliptica energy could change the galaxy, he explained during one session, but only if we use it responsibly. No single species should control it, not even humans. Kale Soren, still haunted by his past actions, volunteered to serve as an ambassador for reconciliation efforts. Many distrusted him, but Leora vouched for him. He made mistakes, she admitted publicly. But he also risked his life to help us win. Let's give him a chance to make amends. Slowly, the pieces began falling into place. Trade agreements were signed, medical supplies were distributed, and reconstruction projects started on devastated planets. People began to believe that a brighter future was possible. Confronting the past despite the progress, some wounds refused to heal. Ambassador Kale became a lightning rod for anger, especially when rumors surfaced about his continued contact with former council loyalists. During a heated council meeting, a Kralith representative accused him of plotting behind closed doors. "You're no better than the tyrants we just defeated," the Kralith snarled, slamming his fist on the table. Kyle stood calmly, though his hands trembled slightly. "I'm not denying my past. I betrayed you all, and I'll live with that guilt forever. But I'm here because I believe in this alliance. If you think I'm lying, then expose me. Otherwise, let's focus on building something worth fighting for." Leora intervened before the argument escalated further. "Enough. We don't have time for infighting. Every accusation, every grudge, it keeps us stuck in the past. Is that what we want, or do we move forward?" Her words silenced the room. Slowly, the delegates returned to their discussions, though suspicion lingered in many eyes. Later, Leora confronted Kale privately. "You're walking a dangerous line," she warned. "People are watching your every move." "I know," Kyle replied softly. "But I didn't join this fight to save myself. I did it because I wanted to see a galaxy where trust mattered more than fear. Maybe I don't deserve redemption, but I'll spend the rest of my life trying to earn it." Legacy. Of sacrifice as months passed, the galaxy began to heal. Cities rebuilt themselves, crops grew again, and children laughed in streets once filled with gunfire. Monuments were erected to honor those who had given their lives, including Admiral Voss, whose name became synonymous with courage and selflessness. On Earth, a statue of Leora was unveiled in the heart of New Chicago. Standing tall with her arms raised, it symbolized humanity's resilience and leadership. When asked how she felt about being immortalized, Leora simply smiled. "It's not about me," she said. "It's about everyone who fought. This statue represents all of us, the ones who believed in a better future even when it seemed impossible." Behind the scenes, however, Leora struggled with survivor's guilt. She often visited a quiet garden near the ruins of her childhood home, sitting alone with her thoughts. Sometimes she wondered if the cost of victory had been too high. Other times, she reminded herself of the billions who now had a chance to live free. Looking to the stars one evening, Leora stood atop a hill overlooking Earth's night sky. Beside her stood Dr. Kane and Mira Chen, both gazing upward at the countless stars twinkling above. "What happens next?" Mira asked quietly. Leora smiled, her expression thoughtful. "We keep going. There's still so much to explore, so much to learn. The Council tried to chain us to their vision of the galaxy, but now we're free to write our own story." Kane adjusted his glasses, a hint of pride in his voice. "And maybe, just maybe, we'll inspire others to do the same." As they stood there, bathed in moonlight, the galaxy felt full of possibilities. The scars of war would never fully fade, but neither would the lessons learned. Humanity, and its allies, had proven that even in the darkest times, hope could ignite change. The Council's betrayal had sparked fury. That fury had ignited a revolution. And from the ashes of destruction, a new dawn rose, a promise that the galaxy would never be the same.